It's 4:40 in the morning at a truck stop outside North Platte, Nebraska, and a man named Dwayne Kessler is standing in the gap between two idling rigs with a flashlight in his teeth. He's not fixing a truck. He's watching a younger driver fight a shifter that won't go into third without a fight, grinding, hesitating, catching halfway into the gate like it's snagged on something. Dwayne doesn't say anything for a minute. He just watches. Then he says the thing that starts this whole story. "That ain't the transmission. That's the cheapest part in the whole truck, and it's the only part nobody greases anymore." If you drive anything with a shifter, a stick, a column shift, even some automatics with a mechanical linkage, and it has started to feel sticky, notchy, like it's moving through wet sand instead of clicking cleanly from gear to gear, you already know the feeling Dwayne was watching. You know the exact spot in the gate where it hangs. You know the little shove you've started giving it that you didn't have to give it a year ago. And you've probably already gotten a number from somebody about what it costs to make that go away. That number is usually somewhere between $500 and $900, and it usually comes with a phrase that sounds very official: shift linkage rebuild, or shifter assembly replacement, or, if you're unlucky, we won't know until we're inside the transmission. Here's what almost none of those quotes will tell you, because most of the people writing them genuinely don't think to look. In the overwhelming majority of notchy-shifter complaints, the transmission itself is fine. What's actually failing is a set of parts so small and so cheap that most shops don't even stock them separately. They just sell you the whole assembly because that's what's in the parts catalog. The fix costs about $4 in material. It takes under half an hour. And it's the exact same trick Dwayne Kessler learned in 1968 from a Fruhoff trailer mechanic named Ellis Bohm, who'd been keeping fleet linkages alive since before Dwayne was born. But before I show you what's actually inside that shift boot, I want to tell you why this fix nearly disappeared, and why the people who still remember it are almost all retired now. Dwayne Kessler spent 34 years running maintenance for a regional freight outfit out of Nebraska from 1971 until he retired in 2005. In that time, he kept a personal logbook, not the fleet's official maintenance records, his own, in a green 3-ring binder he still has, of every phantom transmission complaint that came across his bay. A driver would report a notchy or sticky shift, sometimes with an intermittent pop-out of gear, and the write-up would say transmission. Dwayne started tracking how many of those write-ups turned out to actually be transmission problems versus something else. Across more than 400 logged complaints between 1974 and 1999, he counted 61 that were genuine internal transmission failures. The other 340-plus were something else entirely. Worn linkage bushings, a dried-out shift rail isolator, a cracked cable grommet, or a shift lever pivot that had never once been greased since the day the truck left the factory. That last part is the piece almost nobody talks about. Up through the late 1980s, most manual shift linkages, cars and trucks both, had actual grease fittings, or at minimum, a service interval that called for repacking the shift linkage bushings with chassis grease. It was in the factory service manuals. It was a real line item. Then, through the 1990s, manufacturers moved almost universally to what they called lifetime lubricated nylon and Delrin bushings, plastic bushings pre-packed with grease at the factory, sealed, no fitting, no service point, nothing to maintain. It sounded like an upgrade. In a lot of ways, for the first 5 to 8 years, it was less mess, less maintenance, one less thing for a driver to forget. But lifetime in that phrase was never really describing the vehicle's lifetime. Let's put a real number on what this is actually costing you if you leave it alone. A typical daily driver shifts gears somewhere between 400 and 1,200 times a week, depending on your commute and whether you're in traffic. Every one of those shifts on a worn bushing is grinding a little more plastic off an already oval hole. That's not a one-time problem that stays the same size. It's compounding, week over week, until the play in that joint is large enough that the shifter starts missing the gate entirely, which is when a lot of drivers finally give up and pay for the full assembly. The $4 fix isn't just cheaper. It's the difference between stopping the wear this week and letting it turn into an actual transmission-adjacent repair 8 months from now. Here's what Ellis Boehm taught Dwayne, and what Dwayne taught 2 generations of mechanics after him, and what I'm about to teach you. First, find your access point. On most floor-shift cars and trucks, that's the console, usually 4 to 6 screws or clips, sometimes hidden under the parking brake boot or a small trim panel at the base of the shift boot. On column shifters, it's typically a small access plate near the steering column, sometimes under the dash. You are not pulling the transmission. You are not pulling the console apart to rebuild anything. You're opening it up enough to see the linkage, the rod or cable running from the base of the shifter back toward the transmission, and the pivot points along it. Second, identify the bushings. You're looking for small nylon or Delrin sleeves or bushings at each pivot, where the shift rod meets the shifter base, where it meets the transmission's shift arm, and at any cable end grommets. On a lot of vehicles, these are a distinct, slightly different colored plastic from the metal around them, often black or tan. If one is cracked, oval-shaped instead of round, or visibly dry and chalky rather than slightly glossy, that's your culprit. Third, and this is the $4 part, clean each pivot point with a shop rag and a small amount of brake cleaner. Let it dry for 2 or 3 minutes, and then pack it with a moly disulfide EP2 grease. Not household grease, not white lithium spray, not WD-40, moly disulfide grease specifically, because it's rated to stay put under vibration and repeated small motion friction in a way that lighter lubricants aren't. A 4-ounce tube runs about $4 at any auto parts counter, and this job uses roughly a dime-sized amount total. Work it directly into each bushing and pivot with a small pick or a zip tie cut at an angle so it gets between the surfaces and not just on top of them. Fourth, if any individual bushing is actually cracked or worn oval rather than just dry, replace that single bushing, not the assembly. Most of these are sold individually or in small linkage bushing kits for $2 to $6 at a parts store or online, and they press or clip into place by hand or with light pliers. This is the step the parts counter usually skips past because the software behind that counter defaults to showing you the full shifter assembly first. Fifth, while you're in there, check the cable or rod adjustment if your vehicle has an adjustable linkage. Most do via a small clip or turnbuckle. A linkage that's slightly out of adjustment on top of dry bushings will feel even worse, and a lot of "it's still notchy" complaints after a bushing service actually trace back to this step being skipped. Reassemble the console or access panel and run it through the gears with the engine off first, then with it running. Dwayne's rule, and it's a good one: if it doesn't feel meaningfully smoother within the first 10 shifts, you had a different problem. Most likely worn synchronizer rings inside the transmission itself or a genuinely worn shift fork. And no amount of grease on the linkage is going to fix that. I want to be completely upfront about that limit. This procedure fixes linkage and bushing wear, which is the majority cause of notchies, does not fix grinding when you're already moving through the gate cleanly. It does not fix gears that pop back out under load, and it does not fix a clutch that isn't fully releasing. Those are different problems with different $4 fixes, and I'm not going to pretend this one covers all of them. One more honest limit, because I know some of you drive automatics. This procedure applies to the mechanical shift linkage, which most automatics still have between the shifter and the transmission's manual valve or park lock mechanism, even though you're not rowing gears yourself. If your automatic feels notchy or resistant, specifically moving the lever between park, reverse, neutral, and drive, not during actual gear changes while driving, which is a hydraulic or electronic issue entirely inside the transmission, the same worn bushing mechanism is very often the cause, and the same fix applies. But if the hesitation happens while you're already driving and the transmission is deciding when to shift gears on its own, that's a different system, and grease on a linkage bushing won't touch it. I'll also say this because it matters for how much you trust any of this. Dwayne's binder is one man's fleet records, and I want to be upfront that it's not a peer-reviewed study. What backs it up independently is a 1996 SAE technical paper on manual transmission shift quality degradation, which found that linkage compliance, essentially play and friction at these same pivot points, accounted for the majority of subjective notchy-shift complaints logged across several fleet studies, with actual internal transmission wear a distant second. Dwayne's binder and that paper were never in the same room together. They just happened to land on the same number from two completely different directions, decades apart. What this does fix, reliably, in the large majority of cases Dwayne logged over 3 decades, is exactly the symptom that gets people quoted $500 to $900. A shifter that used to move cleanly and now catches, hesitates, or requires extra effort partway through the gate. There's something else worth saying here, because it's the part of this story that actually matters more than the grease. For most of the 20th century, keeping a vehicle running long past its expected lifespan wasn't a specialty skill. It was just what a driver, or a driver's father, or the guy at the truck stop knew how to do, because the manufacturer had put a service point right there in front of them and told them to use it. Somewhere in the shift from grease fittings to sealed lifetime bushings, that expectation quietly disappeared, and a huge number of drivers grew up never knowing there was ever anything to check. That's not a criticism of anyone watching this. It's just what happened. The information didn't vanish because it was complicated. It vanished because nobody had a reason to keep telling you, once the fitting itself was gone. Dwayne Kessler is 81 now. He still has the green binder. He told me the number that stuck with him most, out of everything he logged in 3 decades, wasn't the 340 phantom transmission complaints. It was how many of those drivers, once they were shown the actual bushing, said some version of the same thing. I didn't know there was anything back there to look at. Now you do. If this saved you a shifter assembly quote, or if you've already been living with a notchy shift and didn't know this was the reason, tell me in the comments, what's the vehicle? Roughly how many miles are on it? And what did a shop tell you it would cost to fix? I read all of them, and I'm building an actual reference list from the responses. Not for me, for the next person who searches this exact problem at midnight the way you probably did. There's a second half to this story I haven't told you yet. What happens when the shifter feels fine, but the transmission itself has started slipping under load, which is a completely different $4 problem with its own history and its own name attached to it. That one's coming.